All right, in this tutorial, we are going to be comparing renting a house versus buying a house. Okay. Again, there are two ways of analyzing this using your FitBUX profile. One is using our financial plan building technology, which is the one that we always recommend because we want you to build your financial plan, and that's what our technology is all about. The other one is just if you're trying to figure out just this answer by itself, rent versus buy, we have an AI that will help you tell you what you should be buying, yes or no. Okay, so I'm going to walk through the financial plan building technology first, and then I'm going to walk you through how to use the AI part second. As always, though, before you do any of this, you want to make sure that your profile is as up to date as possible. Again, day-to-day money, this information is correct. Accounts, all the balances that are in are correct, and your human capital data is also correct. Okay, again, all this data pulls into our calculations and our algorithms. So make sure that information is correct. Now, I'm going to come in here. I already have a plan built, and I'm going to use this income driven repayment plan one here. As you can see, there's no house here. Okay, instead, I have rent in here, and so this one is saying that I'm renting instead. So on this plan, I don't need to do anything because I already have a rent plan built. Instead, I'm going to build a new plan, and I'm going to say this is going to be owning a house plan, okay? And I'm going to hit next. I'm going to copy the plan that I just showed you where I'm renting. Now, in this one, though, I'm going to add a life event. I'm going to say I'm going to buy a house in the next month. Let's just say it's $400,000, and I expect to cover about 15. Let's just call it about let's call it $15,000 in a down payment. And that's all I have to do on here, okay? When I simulate this, whatever I'm paying in rent or renter's insurance or anything like that, our technology automatically removes that from your expenses and it replaces it with a mortgage, estimated property tax, homeowner expense, and everything like that, okay? So now that this plan is built, what I can do is I can close it. I can come over here to compare plans. And I can say IDR, because this is my rent one, and owning. And I can compare them side by side. So I can see the FitBUX score, immediately it drops because I'm taking a little bit more risk. But then the FitBUX score in the long run is almost exactly the same. And I can see, okay, well, what happens actually, what do the details of this mean? And you can see here that in the long run, I actually have more assets by going on an income-driven repayment plan and investing the money instead of buying a house because my rent is so much lower than what it would be in terms of a mortgage. But if I want a detailed breakdown of how these assets would break out, I can see details in here too of like I have $1.6 million in retirement here and $1.1 million in investments. Here, I only have about $457,000 at 1.2. A lot of my assets is tied up in equity. So I can start looking at this and see what would happen over time as well. And I'll also look at my debt and my overall net wealth also on there. And so that's our financial plan building technology. Again, if you guys have questions on how to build this, because there is a lot of moving parts in here, definitely recommend, scheduling a call with your FitBUX coach and setting this up and having them walk through that. Now, our AI that tells you, like, this is the actual answer. When would you want to use this? One, if you're just trying to figure out, should you be renting or versus buying? But you might also be doing it to say, look, maybe you used our AI that says, how much can I afford? And it's giving you a number that is like low, but your rent is so high, it might still be making sense for you to buy a house. Okay, so those are the different scenarios that you can use this AI part for that I'm going to show you next. For the AI, you come over here to tools and products, you click home ownership, and you can click over here, should I rent versus buy? It's then going to ask you how much of a down payment that you expect to make. If you leave this blank, it assumes a 3.5% down payment for an FHA loan is what that's called. I'm just going to put in a random number in there. Let's put in $15,000 like I did on the last one. And it's like, okay, well, what zip code will my home be located in? Let's just say it's going to be 78660. I can hit next. And it's like, okay, well, what is your expected rent amount? And let's just say it's $500 a month. And what is your renter's insurance? Maybe I don't have any. And I'm going to hit next. And it's going to say, nope, don't buy it, right? Why? Probably because my rent's so cheap for the zip code that I put in, it makes no sense. But let's just say I go back in here and I say, well, instead, my rent, because of inflation and everything else, has just gone up dramatically. And maybe it's $1,900 a month. I can hit next, and all of a sudden, boom, yep, that it says the buy, and it even goes into some details. It's like based on the zip code, the average price in that area is $458,000. So now you know, okay, well, based on how much I'm paying in rent, and based on an average price of a house, like if I find a house for $458,000, it makes sense for me to buy versus rent. Okay. Even if I can't afford that, I already can't afford my $1,900 a month rent. So I might as well be actually, if I'm paying that already, I might as well be buying a house, is what the technology is saying. Okay. And you can also use this to back solve in a number two, like what is the current amount of rent? It's like, okay, well, what if my rent was $1,100 a month? What does it say? Oh, okay, like it says not to buy, but what happens, okay, now if it's $1,400 a month and it's still not buying, what happens if my rent was $1,600 a month? And you can start seeing where that break-even point is, and where it would make sense for you to buy a house. So between $1,600 and $1,800 a month, somewhere in there, it starts making sense for me to buy a house instead of rent, okay? So that's how you use our AI. That's also how you use our financial plan building technology to help determine rent versus buy, how much you can afford, all that type of stuff. That's a tutorial for today. We'll see you in the next one.